So we got MC, mower conditioner. We're going to have 4 models. MC90, going to be a 9-foot unit. The 105 will be a 10.5. The 120, 12 foot. 150 will be the 15-footer, okay? So within those ranges, we've got several different things to keep in mind. We'll start with the MC90. The 9-foot unit, that is going to be available with either hitch. Before I do that, let's go back just a second. That unit will be available only in a 540 PTO, that and the 105. The 120 and the 150 will be 1,000 RPM, and it will be the small 1,000 PTO shaft on your order codes. We do not have the ability to order the large 1,000. I got that question in the last group, so it will be small 1,000 on the 120 and the 150. All 4 models will have 2 different hitch options, okay? So in the past, we had just a standard drawbar. We don't have that now. So we're gonna have either a drawbar swivel hitch or the 2-point swivel hitch. Both of them give you maneuverability in the field. That's the advantage of having that. If anybody's ever pulled a standard drawbar, turning one way works pretty good, turning the other, not so much. So this one's gonna be, or all 4 models actually, will be very maneuverable in the field. We've probably seen this hitch before. Anybody that sold the mid-size trail mowers or the large trail mowers here on the 2-point, put that into your 3-point arms, back in, pick it up, and ready to go. So I think personally, the 2-point's a little easier to hook up than even the drawbar, but the drawbar is not very hard either. Questions on PTO or hitch options on any of the mowers? Good with that? All right, next thing we'll talk about is flotation. So again, not new technology, so we've got the charged hydraulic flotation system on here. Also, you've probably seen that technology in our mid-size and large trail mowers as well. So what's the advantage of the hydraulic flotation system? Anybody know? So as that cutter bar starts to come up, you still have the same ground pressure throughout the full range of motion versus a spring flotation system. As that cutter bar starts to come up over an obstacle and that spring starts to compress, what's happening? It's getting heavier the whole time, right? So as it starts to raise, that unit's getting heavier the whole time, whereas this system, it's the same flotation throughout the full motion. So something to keep in mind there. Questions about our flotation system? Super easy to adjust. We've got, you see two knobs up here. That's a little different than the mid-size or the large trail mowers, but what that's doing is just controlling each side individually for flotation purposes. Questions about nomenclature, PTO, hitch, flotation?
Pulling it with a truck.
Say it again.
Pulling it with a truck.
Pulling it with a truck. Pulling it with a truck. So we do have it's a transport hitch, similar you've seen in the past. We've got some different pins, different things. I would ask that you dig into that, and we can address the hitches.
I have one made out of aluminum. That works way better than steel.
Well,
probably a lot lighter.
It is a lot
There you
lighter.
go.
with the V on my chest, I can't say that I
understand.
Yeah, we'll just let
They'll
that one
look
ride
into-
here for a
They'll
minute.
look into
So.
that.
All right, so I'm going to pass it off to Jacob. He's going to cover the rest of the machine for us.
For the rest of the machine, but no, thank you guys for joining us out here. So we're going to kind of work our way back to the rear of the machine, but first thing I wanted to kind of address was I think our engineers did a really good job in comparison to some of our competitors in the way that we ship these machines to your dealership. So a lot of our competitors have various ways of shipping the machines. They can, come in a crate of 300 parts, or maybe stand the nose up in the air and unload them can be a little finicky. So the way that the MC90 and 105 are going to come, they're going to come roll on, roll off. They're fully assembled. The 105 we pay for the over width permit on, and so it comes assembled and ready to go and be PDI'd. The MC90, we remove the outside skid shoe and we bolt it on underneath the bottom of the cutter bar. But that gets it under legal transport width, and so all you have to do is bolt on that outside skid shoe, and it's ready for PDI. The 120 and 105, which if anybody ever PDI'd a 3700 or a 4500, they probably still have a few scars from that. But Eric and Tate and their team did a great job configuring that unit and the way that they fold this tongue in, and they take this front half of the tongue off and bolt it on there, but they have it setting on a little caddy almost. And so when it comes in, all you have to do is back up to it and it pulls right off. And we've got that PDI time down to, I think we say, it will take 2 people 6 hours, so three hours apiece. And so, yeah, I think we did a good job there trying to make sure that those are as efficient as possible. We know your time's worth a lot, and sometimes with the dealership being busy, you don't always get to send the safest, most experienced guy out there to unload. And so trying to take all the margin of error out of that. And so as we work our way back to the rear of the mower, the first thing that you'll notice is just going to be that we kept the steel shielding on these units. I think that's one of the things that really adds to the overall stoutness and durability of this unit. You've got 2 pins here that hold it in at the top, and then it's got a linkage system that raises it up out of the way. If you were exposed to our 3700s and 4500s, you may have noticed over time that linkage would want to freeze up on you or get hard to raise or bring down. We upgraded that to a fiber bushing, and so should not have any issues with it kind of trying to freeze up with you or rust up over time. We've got this magnet up here to get the front piece out of your way, just trying to keep overall accessibility and everything as good as possible. We try to make sure that you can get in here, have plenty of room to work, and just trying to keep that ease of maintenance in mind as we go. You've got flip-up end shields there to be able to access the ends of your cutter bar. That is a thing on the 90, 105, and the 120. When we get to the 150, there's so much weight on those flip-up ends that we actually wanted to go ahead and make that a fixed piece. On the 4500s, we used to have an issue with those end shields breaking as they vibrated or bounced through the field. So on the 150s, they will be fixed, but the other 3 models will have flip-up ends for better accessibility and transport width. When we get down to the cutter bar, I think we kind of get to the rock star of the unit here. This is an incredibly proven piece of technology for us. We've got the Q3 cutter bar. I've got a free hat on Jason's account at the hangar if anybody can tell me what the 3 Qs stand for. Chris Turner, you're not allowed. Anybody tell me what the 3 Qs stand for? Quick shear ring, quick change blade, and then quick check oil. And so this unit is it's the same cutter bar we run in the mid-size mowers, the 1210 and 1410. It's been around for a long time. Still a modular cutter bar, trying to keep that ease of maintenance and trying to keep contaminants, if there was any damage, contained to that one pod. We've got a couple of things out here. So the quick shear ring, if you haven't been exposed to one, I have one out up here. This sits in, torqued in underneath the castle nut, and you've got these stubs here. I think my favorite thing I've found going through the field in my tenure with Vermeer is an industrial floor jack. But in that instance, these rings shear, and you're looking at a $60 to $80 repair and a lot less time versus if you were to compare that even to our Splendimo cutter bar there. Just overall trying to keep uptime in mind and cost of ownership over time. This shear ring has sure helped us out a lot. When we talk about the quick change blades, you've got the hammer tool, where you can pull that clip off, drop the pin, change your blades. I like to remind folks that we have a 5mm thick blade, thickest on the market. I do have a competitor's blade up here that is kind of the industry standard at a 4mm, and so just a subtle but a difference still within that unit. And then we've got when you pull this top hat off, it takes 4 bolts. You take 2 off the top hat there and then 2 underneath it, and that hat comes off. You have accessibility to a dipstick to where you can service everything out of there, change your oil, and get back up and going. You didn't have to pull the whole gear out and have to expose that unit to any kind of contaminants or fight the grease or get anything like that out of there. And so, any questions regarding Q3 cutter bar? The shear ring does have a tool that helps get it out. Jason, if you don't mind showing me that. So the tool that gets the castle nut off of the shear ring looks like this. We send one with every unit that goes out, but you've basically got a 4-pin shear ring that sits down on that castle nut, and it's got a I'm gonna say Tate, a 19 millimeter, a what? 24 millimeter bolt head up there, machined head, to be able to back that castle nut off and be able to access your shear ring there. Great question, Katie.
Is that the same shear ring as we had before?
Yes, to my knowledge, the shear hub protection system has not changed from any time back in the Q3 cutter bar. So everything should be compatible there. Great questions. Anything else on Q3? Okay, Chad talks really loud. Wow. Whenever we work our way back, you get into the conditioner. So we have 2 conditioner options on this unit. You've got the Chevron rubber rollers, which you see equipped here. The 105 field unit that we're going to run over there does have the V10 steel rollers. So we had a great question in the last session of whether these rollers were compatible with old models, 3700s, 4500s, and things like that. They are. Your roller sizes are the same. Your shaft diameters are the same. Most of the differences in what we've upgraded on this have to do with the bearing housings and keeping contaminants and things out, but the rollers are interchangeable there. But those are going to be your 2 conditioner options when we look at this mower conditioner lineup. One thing I would encourage you to look at is roller width and diameter, but mostly width. When you're looking at some of our competitors, Deere, New Holland, Kubota, a lot of different lines out there, but when you're looking at those, not everybody is equal in that. And so what I mean by that is you can have, if we take the 120 for example versus the Deere Moco, we're running that into a 118 inch set of rollers, 12 inch bar into a 118 inch set of rollers, versus the Deere's running an 11.5 and bringing it down into a 98 inch set of rollers. And while yes, we want that windrow for a lot of applications, we want that windrow and we want it in there high and tight, but we also want to be able to have that application to be able to lay things out a little bit too, and make sure that our crop flow and everything is as optimal as possible there. So any questions on our conditioner options? I need a tying option. I'll just be honest with you, but we got to start somewhere, Katie. And so, yeah, the question was, when will we be coming with a tying option? My answer to that is I certainly hope that's in the pipeline somewhere, but today we do not have a tying option. Any other questions on conditioners? All right, last thing we'll wrap up with here. When you go behind the conditioners, you've got two adjustable side shields there to be able to manipulate your windrow width and how you want to lay it out in the back. You've also got a top shield there that controls, how high up you want those rollers to throw the material, and again helps you kind of dial in that windrow. The other thing that we had on the old style mower conditioners that was really popular was a set of topping stops. So if you look at the rear of the machine, you've got 3 bolt holes down there at the base of a stainless cylinder. And traditionally with Vermeer cutters, if you wanted to manipulate your cut height to go higher than the standard, 1 to 6 inches, you would put a set of 2 or 4 high cut skids on there with spacer plates, and you'd put those underneath the cutter bar and bolt them on, and that gave you the added range there. With the mower conditioners, we've had these topping stops, and you've got 3 adjustments back there. And like for our 120 we ran this year, that customer had a spot up on the hill that was a little more sandy, and we cut and we did great there. And he said he runs a competitive mower, and he said, my old mower, when we go down in this bottom, if we went down there right now, would really want to pack mud, and it would start streaking and just get really heavy. And so he said, I'd like to go down there and see what it would do. And so we adjusted it up to the middle hole on the topping stops, set the suspension just a nickel lighter, and we were able to cut and had a great day. And so just overall trying to keep that versatility in mind and being able to pull into any field and just about any crop and get the job done. And so any questions regarding those 2 things, or anything on the mower conditioner for that matter? Yeah, it's a great question. So what crops, suit which set of rollers better? And I certainly I can certainly speak for what we go through and what we see, but certainly can vary as you go different places. But I mean, when you look at the steel rollers, those things shine so much in in your cane and sorghum type hays, if you were to go in and try to do Sudan or red top cane or something that's rank, abrasive, tall, those steel rollers just really shine and do a great job. When you get into your grass hays, your legumes, and maybe even just shorter crop, the rubber rollers really come in handy there. The rubber rollers, I call the rubber rollers all-stars. They can pull into just about any field and do any crop and do a really good job at it. And so that's kind of the differences between the two sets and how you can kind of position your customers on what will set them up for the most success.
Rubber's a little
Great
more
question.
susceptible to rock.
One more time.
They're so low that rubber is more susceptible to rock damage.
I hadn't found the mower conditioner that's rollers that isn't susceptible to rocks, but yes, yeah. When you get into the roller machines and particularly the rubber, they are a little bit more finicky when it comes to rocks.
And steel's run a few fence posts through them and never hurt them.
Sure.
Yeah, steel and wood fence posts.
Any other questions? All right. Well, I think.